We're expecting a couple other people will probably join us as we go. Patricia is joining us remotely, but her connection may or may not be solid. So I had first have to start off our call with the antitrust lecturette. I don't know what else to say. So we at EEBC follow antitrust laws, so we don't, in our meetings and calls, do not discuss pricing, collusion, etc. We just adhere to those rules. Okay, well, I wanted to get with everybody. I'm kind of excited. This has been able to compile everything we've talked about to date, and I think what I've done is distill everything into sort of the open forum conversations that we've been having up till now, have everything in a very brief, punchy survey. And the reason I will be sending this out here shortly, while this is all top of mind for us, for all of our lighting members. And the reason is that we need to have some quantifiable data that we can share with Excel as we go before Excel and, introduce or give our feedback from our members. They want to have some idea of not just hearsay, but they want to have some numbers to kind of back up what we're saying. So I've been working on that all day today, and I think we're pretty much ready to go. We just need to get it in an online quick survey format that we'll send out to everybody. And what it's going to look like. Oh, let me ask first. I'm not sure whether have you received any other survey invite or anything to date from EEBC?
No.
Okay. Good to know. I thought something had gone out, so I'm glad that zero response means that maybe it didn't. So you'll be getting this very, very soon, and I'll just lay out. This is what we've got: 20 questions basically, and it's a click yes if it applies. And then for the ones that you do say yes to, that this issue matters for your business, I want to get some rating of how important it is to your business. And therefore, I ask, to rate on a 1 to 5 scale. Now, how important it is, from very low importance, somewhat low, moderate, somewhat high, to very high importance. And so I'll be able to get some weighting on the issues for our members, and we'll be able to say, okay, Excel, this issue is really important to our members, and we have 80% of them say this applies to their business. And of that, the average importance rating is 4.2. So it's a high importance. Doing something about this issue would really help us. Any questions on that at all? I know you're not seeing it, but on just the concept. Everybody good with replying to this? Because I'm looking for like 100% response rate.
No problem.
Super. Okay. Anything kind of before we kind of jump in? Any residual stuff from previous meetings that have been on people's minds that you want to throw out there at the top of our meeting at all? Or did you bring anything new to the table today?
500,000 charging stations are going in.
We're just seeing something about that. Yeah. It looks like it finally got passed.
Well, that one piece will make a difference, and it's kind of quantifiable. When you approach Excel, you can say, look, expect 500,000, nationwide. Our area might be getting blank in charging stations.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see this conversation, because, obviously they're aware of it. I'm really kind of interested in finding out at this stage of the game, from their perspective, what they see the impact to the grid will be in that, shaping demand and that we've talked about before. What do they see as the challenges, and how can we help them meet those challenges? While we're on the topic of having that meeting with Excel, and Patricia's going to help us line that meeting up here in short order, did want to ask how I wanted to kind of float out, how this might go, and are folks comfortable with Scott and I being the representatives to meet with Excel and kind of be the voice for all of us? How do folks feel about that?
Should be
Put the
fine.
work in.
Sorry, Scott?
You put the work in, you deserve it.
Well, okay, thanks. Yeah, I expect a happy face sticker at the end of it. Well, and the other thing I can do, I guess, is I can kind of run through this real quick with you all. So you have a preview of this survey that we're going to come, and I just want to, you guys can help me tweak the wording while live because it's not final yet. We can edit it. But I just want to make sure that we've captured everything that we feel is important for us to have this meeting with Excel. Now, we don't quite know what's going to happen in terms of the chapters or phases that this is going to take. I expect this initial meeting will be Scott, I, and a couple of people from Excel, where we can introduce this and begin this dialogue. Excel may come back and say, hey, we'd like to have a larger focus group kind of meeting with all of your lighting members and, hear firsthand from you. Would anybody be opposed to having such a meeting if Excel made that invitation to us, to all of our members?
That'd be fine.
All right, super. All right, well, let me run through these questions. So what you kind of know the reason for it, it pretty much is for us to be able to kind of quantify and show some numbers to Excel here. So what I'm asking here, I'm saying from the list below, please select the items that would help grow your business, sell more energy efficient lighting products and services, and move the market. So you're not limited to, 2 or 3. I'm asking you to check all that apply to your business. The item may either reflect what you sell and do now, or what you would like to if the right conditions or incentives were in place to promote it. And I say that because, we've talked about some things that we're, a lot of us are not quite involved in. And part of it is because there's no rebate support, or we don't feel like the conditions are right to, sell that stuff. So, if you feel like any of these things reflect something that you're not doing now, but would like to, and then that would reply yes to that as well. Let me go through these. Number 1, and interrupt me as I'm going through these line by line, if you can think of a way of better wording it, or et cetera. But so the first one is increase rebates for standalone lighting controls, parentheses, occupancy sensors, and daylight harvesting sensors. Pretty straightforward. Next is increased rebates for network lighting controls, as we talked about. 3, increased rebate amounts for linear ambient fixtures. 4, increased rebates for exterior fixtures, wall packs, area lights, etc. Nighttime efficiency anticipates the future peak demand from greater electrification of heating, nighttime charging of EVs, etc. I think that I'm kind of curious to see whether folks feel like, contrary to what the trend has been towards lower rebates for nighttime lighting, whether given the future, whether we actually need to increase some of that to help offset some of the nighttime demand that's coming.
Hey, Mike, is this something you can share that we can just take a look at?
And this is not in the format, I think this is going to be like an online survey, so it's not the format that you're going to see live. So we are on we just completed number 4 about increased exterior rebates. Number 5, a topic some had brought up, initiating rebates for solar powered off-grid fixtures. Can everybody see it, by the way? Everybody good?
That's good.
Okay. 6, improved clarity and predictability of custom rebates. For example, a fixed amount based on the kilowatt savings, regardless of the payback time frame, which is often driven by the cost of the fixture, right? We kind of talked about that. And increased rebate amounts for the custom rebate application. So there's, maybe with some clarity that would help that, but I think it's been experienced for at least some of us, if not all of us, who have applied for custom rebates, that the amount that you get from, if you're even awarded the custom rebate, seems paltry in comparison to what a similar project via prescriptive rebates would receive. 8, rebate bonuses for delamping and using fewer lamps when retrofitting to LED. 9, rebate bonuses for defixturing or smarter lighting design using fewer fixtures for a space. And we talked about that. And if any of this does not ring a bell because you weren't on the in the meeting when we talked about this stuff, speak up. Feel free. 10, rebate bonuses for more efficient fixtures, and we talked about this too. Now that things are, the efficiency of fixtures is increasing, but they tend to be more expensive. Should there be some kind of bonus to help offset the extra cost of a more efficient fixture, so that people aren't just putting in old technology because it qualifies for, it's available cheaper and gets the same rebate. 11, extending rebates to fixtures whose wattages fall below the lowest tier in their category in the prescriptive application. So for example, high bays, the lowest wattage for a high bay is 75 watts. So below that, a higher low bay may do the job just perfectly well, but doesn't get any rebate amount. Is that anybody here? Do you find yourself facing that dilemma where you got the right fixture, but it wouldn't get a rebate because its wattage is too low?
Possibly the new 12-watt linear tubes, but I don't think they restrict that.
No, as long as they're DLC, they get a rebate. Yeah, I actually have encountered this. I mean, in a high bay, like a 65-watt high bay, Excel, I think they say they will give some leeway. So if it's 10% below the minimum, they will still allow it or rebate it. But that would be a 67.5 watt fixture here, and a 65-watt fixture still falls below that. So even though it's DLC listed as a high bay or low bay, it still would not get qualified. So as we're moving into these more and more efficient fixtures, you're going to see things fall below that lowest wattage threshold, and I don't even know why they have one, frankly, if it's otherwise categorized. 12, I said slightly higher rebates to replace fluorescent T8s versus T12s because of the longer payback time frame for T8s. So if that would apply to you, whether it would be helpful to have if you're replacing T8s, get a higher rebate for that, because just the payback time frame, it doesn't look as attractive when you're replacing 32-watt T8s versus 40-watt T12s. Patricia, you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is, if you're saying that the payback time is longer and it would help to have rebates for it, does that reduce the savings calculation that it wouldn't work for Excel on a rebate then? Because if the payback is too long, like what is the energy savings
no,
for the
because
TRC?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that practically it nowadays, LED T8s are part of the instant rebate program. So they get the same rebate whether they're replacing fluorescent T8s or fluorescent T12s. So it'd be worth talking to Excel to see to what extent they care. But in terms of us, getting a project over the finish line, present the payback schedule for a customer based on their hours of usage and the energy that they're saving by converting to LED. If sometimes, if it's a limited number of hours, swapping out T8s it's not that great. So they may decide to take a pass because the energy savings in combination with the rebates doesn't make it, in their estimation, cost effective enough to do it. I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm just kind of curious. I put it out here to see whether people, feel like, yeah, that would be helpful to my business or not. If not, then leave it blank. Don't check it.
And I'm coming from a different perspective because, we're an implementer of these types of programs. And it's kind of like you said, Mike, like the LED tubes that are meant to replace these fluorescent technologies are all deemed incentives. So Excel doesn't necessarily care what it's replacing, right, from a rebate perspective. So
Not anymore.
if you're going to increase the rebate for T12 to replace T12s, you might as well increase the rebate to replace T8s as well. It's going to be how it's implemented. And if we're thinking from a custom approach, it's just going to be based on the energy savings. So I feel like this is like not going to be a non-starter for Excel. They're not going to have different deemed rebates depending on whether an LED tube is replacing a T8 or a T12.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they used to. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm from the school that you would get more money, rebate money, to replace T12s to get them out of the building. But anymore, I think simplification is important. And I can see both sides. Give more rebate to T12s. No, give more rebates to T8 so you can, the project looks or has a better ROI. You know, now, you know, since it's, let's just keep it simple. Get these tubes out of your building and we'll give you this particular rebate.
It seems like if Excel did 13 and 14 on your list, then number 12 wouldn't be a concern of ours, would it? If they're increasing incentives for T8 tube, LED tubes and retrofit kits, then the concern about having higher incentives for fluorescent replacements is moot.
Right, and you can't see it on your screen yet, but 19 it hits it right on the head there, Dan. But yeah, you know, they used to, Scott, they used to rebate, give you a higher rebate amount for placing T12s than T8s for that very reason. They wanted to get them out. And they gave, I can't remember whether $6 versus $4 or something like that. But anyway, and that was before it went instant rebate. It was back in when they were all prescriptive rebate. But yeah, I mean, you know, so if 12 does not, you know, look like it would help your business, don't answer yes, just leave it alone. So 13, higher rebates for truffer, linear, high bays, and other retrofit kits, which generate less waste, but can in fact cost more than new fixtures, replacement fixtures. And right now, I think the rebates are usually the same for retrofit kits as they are for a new fixture, but there's you know, other benefits to using retrofit kits where you can because of that less waste. It's easier install sometimes not. It just overall the environmental impact is a little lighter. I don't know that Excel cares.
I have a point I want to add here because I did talk with Ya Wen, who was also attended the last lighting action group. So he provided me some comments specifically on this, and our assumption is that the reason why Excel maybe isn't offering higher incentives for this equipment is there's concerns about quality, because LED retrofits can come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, from just, you know, a simple light strip to, you know, completely replacing light engines, drivers, optics, basically, you know, the major functional parts of the luminaire. Right. And I think both Yao and I feel that Excel might be more willing to increase incentives if we can be more specific about kind of like the shapes and form factors of the retrofit kits. Basically, if we can show that certain retrofit kits are of higher quality, there might be an opportunity for a higher incentive. And if folks on the call are familiar, like the DLC uses this terminology, integrated versus linear retrofit kits. And an integrated retrofit kit includes, you know, basically all the functional components of the luminaire, from the optics, to the light engine, to the driver. So it's basically replacing everything except for the housing, whereas a linear retrofit kit can be more simple. It's just a simple light bar could be, you know, considered a linear retrofit kit and from their definition. So this might be something where like some additional specificity might help the case to Excel, basically showing that the higher quality retrofit kits are getting the higher incentive because you know, they have better, relatively inferior product.
DLC standards still apply to these retrofit kits. So the whole conversation about quality is supposed to be moot, right? As long as these retrofit kits meet DLC, they're rebatable.
Yeah, I think what I mean by quality is basically ensuring that people aren't installing glare bombs, light engines that don't have the associated optics, so that the distribution of lighting is not adequate. I think that's mostly what I'm thinking of when I think of quality in this context. Because like you said, a lot of these products, at least if they're rated by DLC, there's a plethora of kind of technical performance requirements they have to meet. But I think it's like more of an aspect of the installation as opposed to the product itself.
And if we expand our thinking a little bit, retrofit kits might not even light anything up. In other words, increasing the cost of these projects are these little tails that you can get for like $7 per fixture. It makes it very quick and easy for the electrician to bypass the ballast. It comes with the 2 tombstones attached, direct wire into the power of the building. These are electrical retrofit kits that come with an expense. And you wouldn't think about rebating something like that generally, because they don't illuminate anything. But boy, would that be helpful.
To have something for that, yeah, as opposed to having to do the rewiring and stuff yourself.
Yeah, those retrofit kits are great. They're $6 to $9 per fixture. And I'm thinking of the linear tubes that are all over the ceilings of America. The easiest way to deal with them is to bypass the ballast with these retrofit kits. But they're not rebatable. They're an electrical part that don't light anything up.
Right.
So generally you wouldn't think of rebating that, but it's part of the project, part of the ROI.
Yeah, there's quite a few things like that I encounter that you need it for the install, but there's nothing to help you, help the customer pay for it. Yeah. All right, that's a good. Thanks, Dan. That was a good point. And I'm going to touch on something like this here shortly. Let's hold that thought too. So next, where do we leave off here? Maybe higher. Yeah. Well, this is focused specifically on LED T8 since we're on it, but provide. I mean, a $4 or $5 rebate for a T8. I'm not sure it's. Well, I guess it's up to Excel, but I'm not sure it's a high enough rebate, especially now that T8 costs have kind of been going up, to justify retrofitting the fixture. So I guess where I was going with this is that if you provided higher rebates for LED T8s, you might get more retrofitting jobs of keeping the same fixture, just putting in LED T8 tubes. And the benefits of that, there's a huge environmental and social benefit of that, it generates a whole lot less waste than replacing the fixture. But might there be added rebate incentives to push people in that direction if they so choose? My guess is, let me ask you, if say you got a 3-tube troffer, and the LED T8s were getting rebated $10 a piece, so it's a $30 rebate fixture, rebate retrofit job for that troffer, and which is the same for replacing it. What do you think your customers would do? Most of your customers, do you think they would opt to definitely retrofit? In that case,
it depends. The electrical work is very expensive. They might have the maintenance in their own building to do a quick fixture retrofit. So that might depend. I'm always in favor of retrofitting.
What do you think, Matt?
I like new myself, not just a better way for us to go.
Yeah.
We do both, obviously, but we just like the performance of new versus retrofitting.
Right. My impression too, and most of the time when I show customers, it depends upon what their budget is, right? How much money they have to play with, but
right.
But you put a new fixture in front of them, and it looks and performs so much better than the old stuff. And their inclination is to go, oh, well, give me that because it looks so much nicer. But I guess I'm wondering if the incentive were different, and I certainly like the outcome of putting a new fixture in. I like the way it looks versus retrofitting, you know, a troffer and just having the tubes be a different technology, but otherwise it looks the same. But if the end goal is about saving energy, a certain quantity of energy, whether changing the T8 rebate would be enough to change, therefore, the calculus, and a lot of people would end up retrofitting fixtures, especially in like non-mission critical areas where appearance doesn't matter so much, it's more function, whether they'd be more inclined to go that route.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the application, but, you know, and the rebates dictate the way we like to go, but we do both. I mean, one job will be T8s. If it's very budget conscious, we use T8s. If it's not, we use new fixtures.
Well, and I was just working with a client here earlier in the week, and I said, you know, you don't have to go all one way or the other. You know, if you have a conference room or something that you need to impress your clients with, then you can put new fixtures in that one, and you can retrofit in spaces that don't matter so much. All right, so the next one, rebate bonuses that for lighting that operates fewer hours, but they cover the peak demand hours. So here we get back into the issue of, well, because they're only open 40 hours a week, or even less sometimes, 30 hours a week, but you know, all of it's during peak hours, the ROI is not very attractive because you know, they don't burn so much electricity. This is more for the utilities benefit, because the time that they're consuming the energy is the most valuable time. So, you know, do they need would it be helpful for our businesses if Excel were to offer a bonus to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, it's going to cost the same whether to redo their lighting, whether they work 8 hours a day or 16 hours a day or 24 hours a day. But from there, the ROI and the payback is not nearly as attractive, and therefore they may take a pass, even though it would be very helpful to the utility to reduce that demand then. What do you think?
I mean, I think it makes intuitive sense. I think the best solution would be if there was like time of use rates for everyone. Like this wouldn't matter, right? Because the ROI would balance itself out. But I can see like why this would be important, and I can see the justification for why there should be, if more, you know, one of Excel's concerns is, as people are moving to a more electrified grid, you know, moving away from more gas technologies, that, you know, peak demand is going to be a big concern. So I'd imagine there would be, you know, a lot of value to Excel in reducing that peak demand.
And Matt and Scott, I mean, do you get customers like this where their usage is not very high, but it's where this scenario could help your business?
Thank you, Matt. Mike, I'm a little confused by this one. If we use a cannabis grow as an example, cannabis grows are perfect examples of businesses that could be taken off of the peak if they were so inspired. Is that what we're talking about here? Rebate bonuses for lighting that operates fewer hours? No.
So thanks for bringing up that lack of clarity. So what I mean by that is I'm thinking a traditional office that's only open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 or 6. They don't. It's not a lot of kilowatt hours, right? But when they have them, it's all during peak time. You know, when everybody's sucking energy. So, you know, given that, and I should, you know, maybe I should put that in the question, like rebate bonus for bonuses for converting to lighting that operates only during, you know, regular business hours.
Or mostly during daytime hours.
Right. Because, that's the customers that operate their lighting 24 hours a day or 16 hours a day. I mean, the ROI is self-evident, right? They're saving so much that it's an easy sell. But customers that operate those lights on a much, for much fewer hours, and maybe it's part-time, maybe it's not every day of the week, but when they do run them, it's during peak hours. They often, it's a much harder sell to get them to convert because the payback is not as great for them. However, the benefit to Excel is much richer, right? Because when they do turn on the lights, it's during the day, and Excel would really love to have reduced demand during that peak time.
And I was just listening. I honestly on this one, I don't know on this one. I think if it's on during peak hours, that it should be rebated similar. I understand where you're going with it because their payback's not as good,
right,
typically on something like this, but I don't know. Is it fair to give like an office who's only operating, heck, you might have I'm trying to think how you would draw you might have like utility closets and stuff like that that are only on a few hours a year or something like that, that would also hit peak if they were on, if they were turned, if the building's only open from 8 to 5, that, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to, I don't know about this one. I understand where you're going with it, but I don't know if they would buy into it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, clearly the main beneficiary here is Excel. The customer doesn't really stand to benefit a huge amount because, okay, their electric bill drops from $200 a month to, $120. Okay. Yeah. It's not going to make or break their business, but it does help Excel. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. I guess from our perspective as contractors or sellers of this, I'm wondering, would an extra bonus help sell a project that otherwise somebody would take a pass on because the return just isn't there?
And how would they regulate? The other question I would have to that is, how would they regulate it, Excel, as far as how would they keep people from saying, oh, my lights are only on 8 to 5, give me the bigger bonus?
Yeah, well, I mean, good question. I mean, maybe you have to have, I don't know. Now we get into, that'd be Excel's calling away, but maybe you have someone sign, what is it, an affidavit or something, whatever you call it, certifying that our lights are on, this is our usage. We verified that this is our business hours, and this is the extent of it. I don't know. It's a good question, but
a good utility lighting auditor would be recording potentially for each zone what the operating hours are. So in like a custom application context, they would know what lights were being used on and off peak.
Right, but how does Excel keep everybody honest is my question.
Yeah, I mean, right, until there's universal smart meters, right? Then it's obvious, but
right. Also keep in mind that peak is only like 11 till 3. It's about 4 hours during the day, and we're describing a 12-hour day. Also, we're not so certain going into our meeting that that Excel considers this peak still a real concern during the day. They might begin to be shifting focus to nighttime peak. We're afraid we're going to have this nighttime peak where we're shifting everyone into electric heat. We're adding all these electric car charging stations. So they probably will still be concerned about daytime high demand and peak times, but they might be beginning to shift focus to nighttime high demands.
Well, and
we'll see.
Traditionally, Excel's peak time is summer from, I think, what is it, Scott? Is it like 2 to 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
In summer afternoons?
Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but
the ACs are blasting full time and the lights are all on still.
Yeah, it gets a little later than 3, I think, for sure. We'd have to look it up. I actually had a conversation, interestingly, with Excel the other day about this EV thing and the shifting of peak demand and stuff. And it might happen eventually, but right now, and I was kind of surprised by this, or not, I guess once it was kind of explained to me, I wasn't as surprised by it, but it's a long way off.
Yeah.
between when like the peak is right now versus when like maybe it would shift to like a nighttime peak. It's years away at this point. And you know, one of the points that they made was you're not taking away something during the day and adding it at night. You're just adding it at night, basically. So, which makes sense when I thought that through. So it, you know, most of the peak is because of industry, basically. You know, like that's what's
Right.
causing the peak is these big industrial, you know, like for example, your you know, your big, you know, production type facilities and stuff like that. So it's a little ways off the shifting of demand to, or the shifting of peak to the night. I was thinking, I was honestly like, when I first started talking to him about it, I was thinking it was sooner than it is right now. I wouldn't be surprised if someday it got there if they put 1 million EVs on the road by 2030. But yeah, so
Yeah,
keep that.
That's it. I mean, that's it. So, and it gets to that the question of, you know, do we need to increase, or should they increase incentives for nighttime lighting? And they're probably going to say, well, we don't see the need now. And
Yeah.
my only counter would be, yeah, but does it make sense for us to, you know, well, again, keep in mind, this whole DSM thing that we're talking about isn't for now. This is for 23, 24. You know,
Yeah,
this isn't for 22. So where I'm going with that, and it's really hard for me to as we're having this conversation to say, no, this actually doesn't apply for 2 more years. But you know, for them at that point to try to get ahead of the curve and provide the incentives for people to, in 23 and 24, to install, you know, replace whatever traditional outdoor lighting that they have with the most energy efficient lighting, because that in a couple more years, you know, that EV stuff is only going to get worse, right? So you want to, you know, have reduced the demand already in anticipation of that.
I agreed with that. And yes. And, you know, and theoretically we're building systems that are going to last 10 years, right? So we're building a system,
Right.
We're selling a system today that hopefully the customer will have in place for the next 10 years. So
Exactly. Right. Right.
you know, why not put, you know, why in 2024, when 2023, 2024, when all this goes into effect, why not have that system be able to accommodate for what's going to happen over the next 10 years?
Right.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. And then another one we've raised up again, Scott, by the way, so this survey that we're kind of going over now, this would be just a yes or no. Does it apply? Check if it applies to your business. Okay.
Okay.
So we're just going through, and this is kind of a regurgitation or distillation of items we've talked about over the previous weeks. I've now just kind of concentrated all this in one survey for people to say, yes, this applies to my business. And then we'll come back and rate how important that particular issue is to your business.
Okay.
So the next one is on-bill financing for all commercial customers, including small businesses. Is that, you know, we talked about that before, but is that pretty clear whether it be a yes or no to your business? Important?
Yeah. I mean, this is one that I'm a big proponent of it. And I think it'd be great. I would love to see something like this offered from Excel.
Yep. Some utilities already do it, but Excel would be a good one to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it certainly doesn't hurt for a customer to have the option. And I can't imagine that it would do anything but help us sell more to have that option available to them.
Right.
And that's the reason for saying yes to any of these, that you see it as it would be important and helpful to your business if this were to happen. Okay, next one, prescriptive rebates for efficient horticultural lighting, something I'm completely unfamiliar with, and I will confess right up front, I am not checking yes to this because I'm not in that space.
I think it'd be interesting, but I think it's more complex than just switching out lights. There's a lot that goes into this, and I think we talked about it a little bit before. There's different procedures that folks have to use when they use LED lighting, different timing that they have to use for when they shift the colors and things like that, and then it factors into their whole HVAC equipment as well. And
Yeah.
so it's this space, we looked pretty hard at this space and trying to get into it, and we didn't have a whole lot of luck breaking into this space. So I think it's interesting, and it'd be cool if they did offer it. The LEDs, you know, from the research that I've done, they can be better, but they're not as much better as maybe you would think as a high pressure sodium is. A high pressure sodium still does a pretty good job of growing. It does a pretty good job, basically.
Right.
So, yeah, you know, like there's people out there like, oh, you can save 60% on energy. That it just, from all the research I've done, that doesn't seem to be the case.
And so I understand it right now. There are rebates available potentially, but it's always through the custom rebate program, right?
Correct.
Custom. And Scott, I am in this space a little bit, and some of the things you're saying are correct. However, whether LEDs are better than sodium, it's debatable. And it may not be 75 to 60% savings, but it may be 30 to 40, and it's massive.
Right.
And it can be simplified. I know color aside and all these other spectrums, but if you're taking a blank sodium, let's call it 1,000 watt HP, and reducing it to a fixture that's 800 watts or below, they're dimmable. So they're not always running on 800 watts. They could make it easier by doing a prescriptive rebate. The one thing that we should do, and we should try hard to do, is get the growers off of peak time. If we incent them properly, they could literally have their hour. The hours would be the same, whether it's growing under old technology or new technology. It's 16 hours in veg, 12 hours in bloom, give or take a little. But if we could have them have those light cycles so they're not on peak, that would be huge. I don't know how it's done, but it's done through incentives. It's done by money. So that would be the two things I see from cannabis. Yes, we can get them off of the old technology. Yes, they can grow great quality product under the new technology. It's just a matter of, can we make it easier for them? Because going through the custom is not easy for them. They make them do all kinds of CCF charts and things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that from my research, that's kind of what I've found is it seems like you go from 1,000 watt, you go down to about somewhere around 800, 750, 700 ish is kind of where it's at right now. And I would totally, I mean, from an intensity standpoint, it's probably the most intense energy per square foot, like of anything out there, really. I mean, it's crazy how they stack 3 foot on center 1,000 watt high pressure sodiums. You know, it's like
100 lights in a room. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so if you know, I would be interested in this, and I think it'd be worth at least bringing it up with Excel. I think one of the issues right now is it's all still kind of, there's not any like for sure data out there, and you know, there's data out there, but I think Excel's a little reluctant to it seems like jump into this space and provide a rebate on it because they don't have a lot of good data. And I talked to them. They put out an RFP, like, I don't know how long ago that was. It was maybe like 6 months or a year ago, where they were going to actually study this and look into it. So I know they're looking into it. So I'd be for pushing for some sort of prescriptive rebate on it.
Right. And that's ultimately what all I'm asking here. You know, would it be helpful to our member businesses to have prescriptive rebates for this lighting versus having to go the custom rebate route? We'll say, you know, we'll see how people respond. My guess is if this is your specialty, you know, and you get a fair amount of business, you're definitely going to say yes, and you're going to say it's high importance because, you know, it's you can make a lot of money and help your customers save a lot of money by doing it, you know, if you can persuade them to do it. But let's see what the response is coming.
And just to add, in case anyone wasn't familiar, the DLC does have technical requirements for horticultural lighting fixtures. And I know, you know, that's a big thing that utilities look for when they're putting together lighting rebate programs, is to see if there's a standard out there to compare against. So that could be, you know, help support the case.
Yep. Yeah, I was kind of curious whether Excel is reticent to even, if they want to try to keep an arm's length distance from the whole industry, right? But that's a separate question. All right, let me just wrap up because we're got about 5 minutes left here. So next one would be rebate bonuses for restrictions based on non-energy benefits, NEBs, such as product warranty, serviceable fixtures, cradle to grave waste reduction and recyclability, greener, less toxic components, lower CCT, and full cutoff or dark sky compliance for exterior fixtures. So I know that's a huge mouthful there and probably a horrible question, but what I'm getting to, and I want to make sure it's clear to you guys is that, would it be helpful to help you sell stuff if Excel gave bonuses for these kinds of NEBs that have, other benefits beyond just reducing energy by X percentage?
Yes. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of different parts of this as far as the exteriors being full cutoff is an incentive. And then the dark sky issue is going to be a much bigger thing in the years to come. And why not let them participate?
Yeah, I mean, to the point where, maybe Excel wouldn't even offer rebates for non-cutoff fixtures. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know in municipalities that I work with that a lot of them have ordinances that require it. So, I know a lot of people will just swap them out and not care, but I do. And so to do it right, you're supposed to put those in anyway. But I guess I'm wondering, would it help any of our businesses to have some of these, some of these other non-energy benefits incentivized? I hate that word, but
list some of the NEBs you're describing, for instance.
Sorry, Scott?
List some of the NEBs that you're describing.
Yeah, well, like for example, getting back to the product quality, I mean, instead of say a $30 rebate, you give a $40 rebate if the fixture carries a 10-year warranty.
Or has higher CC like clarity for viewing or reading or.
Yeah, you've got that list.
Yeah, it's I mean, so the products are essentially equivalent, but maybe you give a bonus for a product that is built to last longer and not be thrown away, not die after 5 years or 50,000 hours, but actually, will last a lot longer. So there's so much less waste, which, not only, I mean, is landfill waste, but also, you think about the energy required to build the fixture and everything and all the other materials that go into the fixture. So there's all those other, non-energy benefits to having a higher quality, longer lasting fixture.
Simply based on warranty claim.
Well, that's the rub, right? That in that particular one, you can have all kinds of people say, yeah, I'll give you a 50-year warranty. I'm out of business next month, but here's my warranty. Yeah, I know there's that. But then also serviceable fixtures, fixtures that can be, when the driver goes bad, you can access the driver and replace it. When the sucker dies, it's fully recyclable or 95% recyclable. And not just ending up in landfill. All those kinds of, it's kind of a hot issue in some circles, and I think going to become increasingly so. And I'm just wondering if it would help any of our businesses to be able to, offer some extra rebates, if we had it available, to sell greener, better products.
But are they listed, like certified for dark sky compliance?
Yeah, there are well, the full cutoff thing is definitely, that's a stamp you can get, a qualification you can meet. But beyond that, there are all kinds of, and I don't know, I attended a webinar not that long ago on this very issue. There's all kinds of third parties out there that certify, the green mix of the components that go into it, et cetera, besides NIOSH or whatever. I think it's going to become more important and more interesting. But maybe I'm beating this to death, and maybe I should just yank it out. But I'm just I'm throwing it out there to see whether we feel like it would help us sell these products if they had that, if they carry this kind of certification, maybe it is just NIOSH or whatever. If it has that stamp on it, then it gets it. But
I was gonna say I'd be a little on the fence about this one. I think the key to it is that you'd have to have a certification. So
Right.
like, it'd be kind of like you're saying, it's either a dark sky compliant fixture gets a little higher rebate, or like a C2, like a cradle to cradle certified fixture gets a little higher rebate because it's more sustainable. But I don't know if Excels would buy much into this because it's not really energy related. Now I know they're looking more at some of this stuff, some of these non-energy benefits like you're talking about, but I don't know if, honestly, I don't know if this would be like a needle mover for our business personally, but I'm all for installing full cutoff dark sky compliant fixtures.
Right. Yeah. Maybe the industry itself isn't there yet. I know there's a lot of people trying to get the industry to move there, where this is a main issue. Anyway, like I said, I'm only asking if people feel like it would help them in their business sell these types of products if they were interested. So let me just cover the last two, and then we'll wrap up. Increased instant rebate amounts for LED lamps. We kind of touched on that. Again, in the interest of, do people feel like that would be helpful to their business, just to have higher instant rebates? And then 20, rebates need to be adjusted upward to reflect the increasing prices and inflationary pressures in the marketplace that's happening today. And whether, that's kind of an across the board, do we need some sort of adjustment in rebates to reflect what we're going through right now? So it'd be kind of interesting to see how many people say yes to that.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt for sure, right?
Not lately.
More money for the, more money for more rebate money for a more expensive project is probably a good thing, right?
Yep. Yep. I'm only seeing pricing going one way.
Right.
Or just kind of counterintuitive, because typically as incentive programs become more mature, the trend is that incentives go down and down and down as the baseline creeps up and up and up. So it would be a little bit counter, I think, to like the normal paradigm of incentive programs, but I think these are unprecedented times.
Well, exactly. And, again, this is here and now. In 23, 24, when this happens, it's hopefully we'll be through this at that point. And maybe what I should do is reword this, that rebates should have some flexibility to help offset or absorb these kinds of pressures should it happen again in the future. Because it can, no one wants to pay 50% more for the same product that a year ago they could have got for much cheaper. No one wants, you know what I mean? And that it just messes everything up. Anyway, okay, and then beyond that, if you say yes to any of these things, I kind of want to know how important that is. How would you rate that issue for your business? Because some of these are going to be more important than others, right? And help move your business much more than others. So anyway, that was my introduction to what's coming to you. Thank you all for your feedback here. Anything while we got as we're wrapping up? Anything else folks want to put out? We will send a notice when Patricia, when we're able to set that meeting up with Excel. After we get the survey results back, we'll send a notice out to our members and let them know what comes of it. We didn't schedule a next call, did we? I don't think we did.
No.
So we are, I tell you what, I don't know. Scott, what do you think? Should we book it now? Because a month from now, we're, around the 15th or so, mid-December. Should we book this now, or should we wait until we set something up with Excel and have it go from there?
I think we could put something on the books right now, right? Like for the 15th, maybe around then. Does that work?
Is that good for everybody? The December 15th, a little bit before the holidays, I hope. Good. Okay, let's say same bat time, same bat channel. Just Wednesday, December 15th.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Scott. I sent you this survey too, but let's talk about it if you want some more offline.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
Thanks, everybody. Really good to see see you again, and I will look forward to, we'll look forward to get back in touch with you when we have this initial meeting with Excel.
Talk to you
right.
soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
So long.